everyone, today I'm going to show you how to make this tree of life sun catcher. So we're going to start by creating a channel set outer edge with our micro facets, and then later we're going to be using our 0.4 wire and then add in the nugget gemstones as a decor on the outside. Yeah, it's a beautiful little design to be able to put in your window. It's fantastic for decorative purposes, so I'm excited to show you how to make this. The gemstones that I've used for this tree are different sizes of nuggets. So here I've got my lemon quartz, which is the biggest out of the lot. Then I've got some citrines, amethyst, and then I have some beautiful ruby zoisite which go around the edge of the side as my channel set, so a really beautiful addition. And then for the wire I've used 1mm gold plated copper, and for the weaving wire and the tree itself 4mm weaving wire. So that's that. So let's go on to the materials. You really don't need much in terms of materials because everything is done basically with a pair of chain nose pliers, because you pull your wire through with that. Obviously you need your wire cutters, and I said this before, but I really like the really fine tipped Tronex cutters that I have, because they get right into the edges, which is particularly important for this piece because you need to get rid of all the wires that go around the bottom. And lastly, obviously you need your bell making pliers, because those are the ones that will be creating the loop at the top. And I quite like to have like a beading mat ready because of the nuggets. You usually can put them in a tray, but I think it's actually better if you have them ready on a beading mat. They're right accessible and they won't actually move away from you if you're working with that. So that's that. So let's get on with doing the project. So to create this tree, we're going to have to start with a framing on the outside. All right, and for that you need to cut two lengths of 45 centimeters off your 1mm wire. I'm going to demonstrate to you today making a much smaller version of this. For that you probably only need about 30 centimeters because it's a lot smaller than obviously the bigger one, so you need a shorter length. You can make either with the same technique. I'm just demonstrating to you on a smaller piece because it's easier for me to show you, so you can make both versions if you like. And as I said, to create the base, it's going to be something that looks like this. All right, and for this I've cut two of my pieces 30 centimeters off my 1mm wire, and I'm going to straighten it out. Then you need to measure out the center. I usually tend to take both of them at the same time, measure it out. I'm not going to measure it out, but you really should at home, just to make sure that you have the exact center. And then I'm bending them together like so. So this is how you would do the bend, and then I tend to pre-shape these into this kind of V shape to make them fit. So the first step is always a little bit fiddly. I find tend to bend the tips out a little bit because that helps me with attaching. So you need to take quite a fair bit off your weaving wire now. This is the 0.4mm, and I think I needed about 2 to 3 meters, just depending. I'm not very good at measuring it out, but you can work off the reel. You can also add in later if you want to, but I try not to do that because it kind of seems better to have one full length. So cut about I would say about 2.5 meters off your 0.4 and fold this in half, and I'm going to start by attaching this at the bottom. So I'm going to go around about 10 times around the bottom of each side. So that's one. It's very fiddly at this stage. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now rather than switch hands and wind from this side, I just flip this over. I find it a lot easier to wrap on this side. So this is what I tend to do. So flip it over and then go again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then push this down. I always try and work as neat as I can and push it down. So now again the next step is going to be a little bit unsteady because there isn't much structure there to keep it in place. I'm going to pick up one of my ruby zoisite And I'm going to feed this onto the 0.4. And I'm going to pick up the inner wire and I'm going to wrap it around the inside. This is called channel setting. So I'm going to wrap it. So you have to try and keep it in place. Oh, you see, I've broken it. You have to be very gentle with these sometimes. If you press too much, they break. So I'm just going to pick up another. There we go. I think that one must have been damaged when I took it off earlier, because they're normally not that brittle. So put your finger in, just make sure that the gap is big enough to fit the microfacet inside, and then wrap around the inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. And that will add some place. So now it's important that you put this down and shift into place. Now I'm going to flip this over again, like so. And I'm going to do the same on the other side. The reason why I'm doing this on the other side is just to give it a little bit more of structure and stability. I'm trying to find the hole of this, so I added it on. I'm going to do exactly the same. We're going to go around. We're going to place this inside here. So press your finger and this will put the microfacet into place. So that's 1, 2. Don't worry if it doesn't sit right for now. You can adjust that. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then press it down. So now once you've done that, you have the opportunity to adjust everything. So push these into place, and then once you come in and you add a second on either side, this is already a lot more sturdy. So I'm going to add in the second, and always make sure to pull the wire quite taut, taking care not to damage the microfacet. And already you can see the second bead and the second weaving is a lot easier to achieve. 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so just adjust these, and this is basically how you would do it. You can see how it would then align. Just make sure that you follow this and keep in that shape. If you're starting out straight and you're trying to bend it later, it will also damage the beads itself. It's always good to have the sort of shape that you're intending to create first before you start the channel setting. At least in my experience, I find that this is a lot better. So you would then carry on. I will give you the exact number for the big one. I need to count them. For the small one that I've made, I have used 10 on either side. Okay, so if you're making a smaller one, just use 10. So the next step that we need to do is close off the top. So I'm going to take the outside wire, and I recommend to always go a little bit longer because it gives you room to maneuver. If you have a short bit of wire, it's really hard to control the wire and do the wrapping. If you've got a bit of leverage, it's a lot easier to work with. Okay, so I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to bring it in around the inside wire, and I'm putting my finger roughly where they're crossing, and I'm just bending it once or twice like so, and this kind of gives it a finished wrap. Then I'm bringing in my cutters and I'm trimming these off at the back, and then bring in pliers to finish it off nice. So you don't really want any ends that can snag. We're going to do exactly the same on the other side, and don't flip it over because you want the wrap to be on the same side. So if you do it this time, it'll be the other way around. So I'm going to do it from this side, bring it across and wrap around twice. We just want it to look neat and tidy. Bring it round and then just simply trim it off. And if it's a little bit left open like this, you come in with your chain nose pliers and use those finish it off. And this is what it would look like. So the next step to close it off is to bend these together like so. You can decide what shape. You can have it open, you can have it closed. You've got enough wire there to, to do it whichever way you like, as long as these sit nicely. It's up to you how you'd like to do it. So I find this step always a little bit fiddly as well still. What I'm going to do is bring in chain nose pliers. We're going to find the center where these wires cross. And I'm going to bend one in a 90-degree angle, or an angle. And then the second one, you have to gauge where they're crossing. I'm going to come from behind to find it easier, and then take a pair of pliers and hold them in place as long as they are roughly at the center and have the same sort of distance from one end to the next. So kind of judge that, and then I bring in a little bit more, because you want to obviously make sure that it sits straight. And you bring in a pair of pliers and hold on tight, and then very gently wrap the one wire around the bottom. And you just need to go once, because you don't really want to have too many wraps, and then press that down. So you've got that sorted, and it's roughly about the same size on either side. This one may be a bit longer, so take more care when you're doing it. Make sure that they are the same size. You can even mark them out with a black marker pen if you want to be 100% sure that they are the same length. Okay, so the next step is to create the wrap loop. So we're going to create a 90-degree bend like so with the one wire. You can actually come in and trim this one off at the back. Just decide which side you'd like to have your back. You want to hide all the unsightly wires on one side, and then have all the neat and tidy sides on the front. So next we're going to bring in the bail making pliers. You can place them whichever size you like to have the loop at. I just tend to go with the second size for this, which I think is about 3 millimeters or 4, I'm not sure. And all we're going to do is we bend this over, and we're having a look here to see where the wire, how it rotates. So we're going to come from the front, because we want the two ends of the wires to meet. So I've got it set out like that. Maybe twist it around a bit to make the stem a bit shorter. Like that. Grab hold of it with your chain nose pliers, and then simply give it a wrap like that. And then the end of the wire should meet up where the cut of the previous wire was, and we're going to trim that exactly there. So that means it can just slot nicely into the groove, if you can see what I'm doing here, and then just simply press it down. So I can see this one is much longer than this one, so take better care when you're doing this at home. Right, so the next step is to actually add in our weaving wire, okay, for the trees. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And the way this works, you see the little gaps that I have created at the bottom here between the zoysites, okay, so there's always a little bit of a gap. And what I've done, I've taken my 0.4, so depending on the length of the tree, so this is quite a small pendant, yeah, so I'll bring this in here. This is roughly about 16 centimeters. I would go a little bit longer, maybe 20 centimeters for the small pendant, okay. This is way more enough. The reason I'm doing this is just you've got a little bit more length to maneuver. You don't need it exactly 20 centimeters, but as long as you've got enough to maneuver, this will be quite helpful. So I'm going to feed this in. And wrap these around once, go around the bottom, and then twice, and then bring it round one more time. And you can either have them all terminating at the bottom, or at the back, or all terminating at the front. bring this around once, and then you have your wires attached. Okay, so this is what it would look like. I've got a prep piece already where I have added all the wires, and this is what it looks like. So for the big tree, I've used 4 sets of 5 on either side. Okay, so there's 4 sets of 5 on this side, and then 4 sets of 5 on that side. And then for the small tree, it's just 2 sets of 5 on either side. It's just to show you how to add in all of the wires. Okay, so the next step is to actually twist the wires together, and you don't just take sets of wire from one attachment. So we're going to break these apart, and I'm going to take wires from either side. So there's 5, so there's 2 for the top and then 3 on the center, and then we're going to add in 2 from the next one. So you're spreading them out like this, and before you twist these together, we are going to first give these a bit of a twist like that. All right, and do the same with this. Twist the wires. If you find it easier, use your pair of pliers, or just do this. Twist this around. That'll help you. Just be gentle when you've got only 2 wires, because it can, the wires can actually break because they aren't very strong. They're quite brittle when you are bending them. There's a lot of they do well on tensile force, so don't do very well under pressure. Right, so we've got these wires twisted now, and then we're going to twist these 2 together like that. So we've got our 2 wires twisted like that, and that's what it looks like. So we've got these left. So we're going to do exactly the same with the bottom wires. So we're going to twist these, just go around. Find it easier to do, it'll probably be quicker. Just be gentle, you don't. So that looks much better. Oh, actually we were supposed to separate these out. So I'm going to open this up again. Or you can just leave it like that and take 3 from this side. Actually, no, that was right. So we're going to take 3 from this side. We're going to do the same thing. So you'll have a lot of wires that will, you know, be everywhere, but they're attached, so they're not really going to go anywhere. I haven't cut the wires off on the outside because you will be pulling on them. If you trim them off now already, there's a chance that they'll slip out. At least there's some strength to them now, so leave them be. So we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to be twisting these and always go in the same direction, so when you're attaching them later, one column won't be undoing the other. You're going in different directions. So we've got these attached, doing the same thing, and we're going to be winding these together with the wires the way I want them to be. So we're going to start by taking the center ones, giving them one twist or so before we then come in and add in the wires that sit a little bit higher. We're going to give this another twist. Okay, so this is now how this is attached, and we're going to give this whole trunk a little bit more of a twist, because now we're going to do, now you can arrange it whichever way you want. You have a look here to see how I've created a gnarly sort of effect. You can do exactly the same thing. So twist it just a bit longer than you would have a normal tree, and then we're just going to kind of, I need to twist it a little bit more, and we're going to give this a little bit of a sort of gnarly look like that. You can just decide how you'd like it to sit, and then open up the wires. Okay, so what you need to do, arrange your wires exactly like you did with the bottom. Okay, so you've got your roots sitting here, and they're still pretty straight, so you want to give them a little bit of a shape. So I'm going to bring in my pliers, and I'm just going to bend these using my pliers, giving them a little bit of a gnarly look, even the big ones, and that will give your tree the character that you're after. You see, if you had trimmed off all these wires, these would slip out now. All that happens now is they slide on a little bit further, and you know your tree roots are still secured. So it's important that you keep these in place until you're done arranging. So that's that. You would do exactly the same with the branches now. So you arrange them to your liking. Okay, so you twist them and then you arrange them where you would like to have the trees. And in the exact same way that I have attached the roots, you will then take the wires. So let's just pretend I've already done the branches for this. And I'm going to take each individual wire, and what you need to do now, once you've created your branch, we're going to do one here. I'm going to bring it out. Like so. And then maybe branch it out a bit more, like so. Yeah, and then split it. Split it. And there you've got the first section where you would add your nuggets. So you decide on the color of the nuggets. So I've started with my lemon quartz in the center. Going to pick up my lemon quartz and then some citrine. And then just in between, just check. And it's always important when you're adding these that you always make sure that you sort of terminate, add in the same amount of your citrines and lemon quartz to get the effect around. So I'm going to add a sort of lightish amethyst and then a darkish amethyst to get quite a few different colors on that strand that I have. So you add these, and then all you're going to do is exactly the same way as we've added in the roots. We're going to come around from underneath, just pick where you want to add them and wrap and pull this tight, and then simply wrap once, come around, wrap, and then I like to come up through the top and attach, and then just make sure that they sit nice and flush. And this is how you would attach the tree branches for that. Okay, so you would obviously do the same thing for all of the other wires, and you can see it's a lot more wire than I would actually need, but I just personally like to have that length. You can probably go a bit shorter. I just like to have that length because it actually helps me to maneuver the wire and attach it in a much better way. So you'd carry on with this and arrange these to your satisfaction, and then add in all of your nuggets until you're happy. And then when you're finished, I'm going to start with the roots here. I'm going to bring in my very fine Tronics cutters and go and trim these off very gently, and that way you can bring them out like so. And that's why these fine nosed pliers are very handy. Bring them in and press the wires down, and that way these wires will be hidden and you're only left with the actual roots itself. And that is how you make this pendant or sun catcher, whichever way you like it. And that's that. So looking forward to your designs, and I hope you enjoyed this.